Okay, we are going to look at the normal distribution in Statcrunch and how to calculate probabilities and determine X values using the normal calculator. So let me share my screen. All right, so we're in Statcrunch. If we go to Stat Calculators and then choose the normal calculator, we can use whatever mean and standard deviation we're working with. So for example, in one of my classes that I'm teaching this semester, math for elementary teachers, the average grade or mean grade in the class is 83 with a standard deviation of 14, and the grades are relatively normally distributed. So if I want to know what is the probability of a student not passing the class, so what is the probability that X is less than or equal to a 70? Now notice less than or equal to versus strictly less than is not any different in a normal distribution because it's continuous. So less than or equal to 70, I'd have the same probability as strictly less than 70. Okay, and I hit compute and I find out that rounded 18% of the students are not earning a C or above in the class at this point. If I wanted to know D, I can just change it to 60. And 5% of the students are not earning at least a D. So there are 5% who are currently failing the class. Suppose I want to know, well, how about a B? How many students have a B? Well, to do that, I'd be looking at between two values, between 80 and a 90. So we're going to choose the between option, and we'll put in a low of 80 and a high of 90. So how likely is it a student falls between an 80 and a 90? Hitting compute, I see that about 28% of the students have a B currently. They're in the 80 to 90 category. So 28% of the students have a B. All right, now let's look at a different scenario. Let's say I want to know what is the middle 80% of the class. What are the grades for the middle 80% of the class? Well, in this case, what I'm knowing is the percentage or the probability. So I'm going to put 0.8 in the equal to portion of the calculator and hit compute. And we can see that 80% of the students have scores between a 65 and a 101. So 80% of the students are somewhere in the range of 65 to 101 as their scores. Now that's the middle 80%, the middle 80% of the class. What about if I want to know what's the top 5%? What is the score for the top 5%? Now, I think it's going to be over 100 theoretically with this, but let's see. So instead of between, I want standard, and I want to know X is greater than or equal to, and I want the greater than or equal to be 5%, 0.05. Hitting compute, the score for the top 5% of the class is 106. Probably not likely because I don't think anybody has over 100% in that class. But theoretically, based on that mean standard deviation, that's what it would be. Okay, how about the bottom 5%? I would just switch this to less than or equal to and compute with 5% over here. And I find out a 60. 5% of the class has below a 60 in the course. Hope that helped.